we can essentially take an idea. You come to us in our, our first talk, our first meeting with us. Hey, Shai, yeah, I have a great idea for this, health and wellness brand that I want to launch, as soon as possible. And then we ask you, hey, what's the idea, et cetera, et cetera. We take that idea from concept to launch in 6 weeks. So that means that after the 6-week process, you have a digital platform to run the primary and secondary function and functionality that you want your idea and brand to have. You have a brand identity and a brand voice and a logo, a color theory, a user experience that matches what you're trying to do, not only in the current state of your idea, but what you're thinking for in the future as well. And you have a platform to now grow on.
I'm very, very happy. I'm a bit excited, and I'm never excited about these things. Doing an international podcast is nothing for me, but with you guys on the show, unbelievable. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Zavaronis show, where I'm trying to interview about 100 different people from at least a couple of dozen countries. And today, where are you guys located now?
California, right? Orange County.
Orange County. So, yeah, we haven't had an Orange County yet. So like the OC, right? That's what everybody knows. Is that right?
Exactly. So you can knock that one off your list now.
Done. No, I'll knock that off the list when I come have a drink with you guys. So for everyone listening or tuning in now or watching on YouTube, guys, give us a quick brief, an elevator pitch about who you guys are and your company and what you do.
Yeah, I think we'll start with the company, but I'm Yaya, this is Shai. We've been best friends for 8 years now.
Yeah, it's going on 8 years.
Met in college. When we first met, we knew we wanted to start a business together. That kind of evolved from the classic college boy idea of starting a t-shirt brand. So that was, we were gonna be a cool t-shirt brand, way cooler than all the other t-shirt brands.
We were definitely going to compete with Kanye.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the goal.
So that's actually where Shadow started. That's where the name came from. We just really liked that name, and we just kind of morphed that idea into different things over the years until it finally turned into creative agency. So we've been doing the agency for right around 3 years now. Started out as a everything for everyone kind of agency, and we can get a little bit more into that a little later. And what we're doing now is we're really just focusing on the things that we're good at, which is branding and websites. And when I say websites, we really built online platforms through no code, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later. But, the website is super commoditized. So what we're building is more real digital platforms for people that have, online education, that are running membership portals, that are really content heavy and are doing live podcasts, are doing, video series, all those kind of things. So stuff that you can't just build in Squarespace and Wix, basically.
You mentioned so many interesting things. I think we're going to need a series and not one episode, but I'm going to start with a hard question, okay?
All right.
When was the moment you decided you guys are best friends? My best friends are from like kindergarten. When did you guys sit in the bar? You were looking at two chicks and you said, I think you're my best friend. When did the bromance start?
Wow. That's such a great question.
It's a really good question.
I think for me, he knows this, and a lot of people, that are our friends probably know it as well. But I think we just had one of those long philosophical talks one night after you have a couple of drinks and you're talking about girls, you're talking about sports, you're talking about life, talking about dreams. And if you just, sometimes it's 2 or 3 or 4, even 5 people in a group talking. And for some reason, when we would talk in this group, it would just be Yaya and I getting to another level. And people would just be leaving. They just continuously just be leaving the conversation. And we would always find ourselves in the middle, whether it's a party, whether it's a going out, whether it's a dinner, whatever the case may be, it would always just be us two talking to each other, going up and up and up. So I think that's when we realized over the course of the 3rd or 4th time we're having those conversations, like, wow, we have a very different connection than most other people do. And I think that's where the initial bromance started.
It's interesting. The reason why I ask, because for the past decade, I've been what people call a solopreneur, all these buzzwords. And then I own different businesses like bars with a bunch of other people that some of them have been my partners for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. But when you always meet these two people who become best friends and they decide around that to build a business, you always say, don't go into business with your friends. But at a later stage in life, you meet and you decide that maybe your purpose together is to build something, and moving forward. So why didn't you follow through on the t-shirt concept, or did you?
I think it wasn't, for us, we always think about ideas as being bigger. There needs to be a bigger goal towards it. There needs to be something to challenge us. There needs to be something that's something that we can, see into the future of, hey, this isn't going to be easy. We kind of always kind of pursuing that struggle a little bit, and not struggle in a bad way, but struggle in a good way to get to this kind of utopian version of where we want to be as entrepreneurs. So I think the t-shirt idea was just an idea that we can always go after, but it wasn't so appealing for us to put our heads together to really critically solve problems and different angles and come at different, meet different clients, different people. It didn't provide us that. And we're very extroverted people. I think meeting people and meeting new clients and new challenges is something that we love to go after, which is why I think the agency route was the initial step for us.
Yeah, I'm always, I love the saying, strong opinions loosely held. That's really the way I live my life. I change my mind on a probably daily, sometimes hourly basis. When I have an opinion, that's my opinion, and I'm 100% in, and I'm going to, live by that opinion or by that thought or by that idea. But I'm very open to also taking feedback and changing it. And as soon as I see something different, I'm going to shift and I'm going to move. And, we've kind of been like that too, where, you start with an idea and you put everything you have into that idea. And we have sketchbooks full of ideas for the t-shirts. We were taking inspiration from like the 1990s Jordan, the shorts, like the Chicago Bulls shorts. We had like a shirt that we had the same pattern on it. And like we had plenty of ideas, but I think at some point, and this has been a pattern throughout my life, it's just, you have to also see that it's just a bad idea and you have to move on. There's too many people that have an idea and they just cling on to it for the rest of their life and are just unwilling to give up. And, it's like, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. I think giving up is for winners up to a certain point. You have to give up. You have to let some of the stuff go so that you can grow and you can move on and you can change your mind on things.
Yeah, I think changing your mind too often is a problem, especially when you are inhabiting an office with other people and you need to make a decision about what you're going to order for lunch. Then it's a problem. But in other cases, it is being able to say, wait, I love the idea, but I think it's not valid anymore. I know I was the champion. I was promoting it. I was all for it. It was my idea, whatever, but it might have changed. The situation has changed. And I agree with you that some people, whether it's ego or just seeing that idea and loving it so much like a baby or whatever, and just failing to understand that now's the time to move on, which is interesting. And I think also COVID has been an interesting time for a lot of companies to look at that. But you guys you're not coders, you're not programmers, right?
Right. No.
So what made you say, let's drop the I don't know, Supreme was just sold for 2.1 billion. Kanye is worth like 1.3, and you guys said, nah, it's too small. Let's do something else. Let's open an agency.
That actually, it's funny that you say that, because that was exactly the line that Shai put on me, and he's told me that multiple times throughout our lives already, where I have an idea and he just goes, nah, it's too small. Think bigger. We gotta think bigger. Go bigger than that. So the agency really came into play because after college, I went to Chicago to go to the Art Institute out there. Shai started the job at Deloitte. I came back here after finishing school, or dropping out of art school over there. Coming back here, had a job, like a 9-to-5 job for about 6 months, and just couldn't do it. So quit that and just started freelancing. So then I was freelance graphic designing. And any freelance graphic designer out there knows you take any project that there is.
And freelance graphic designer does not give him justice. He was freelance marketing guru. He would do graphic design. He would do website design. He would build POS systems. He would do campaigns. He would do lead gen. So he says graphic design, but he did way more than that for just.
So he was the Yaya agency.
He was the Yaya agency for sure. 100%.
Not right off the bat, but I think that's what I was trying to say. When you're a freelancer, you just take whatever comes, and then you Google it, and you go on YouTube, and you figure out, okay, how am I actually going to make this happen? And I think after a few years of doing that, we realized that websites is just, and this was 3 years ago. I was doing it 4 years at that point. Everyone wants a website. Everyone needs a website, right? I mean, there were some competing design routes that we could have gone down if we would have gone more into kind of like PPC and advertising and those kind of things, right? I mean, there's agencies popping up left and right for that too, but not really our thing. So, we just kind of went with the agency or with the website and branding side of things instead. Once we merged, we basically just took what I had built as the foundation and the clients in my freelance business, and Shai kind of came back from Deloitte and brought that big time agency thinking to it, the whole think bigger, start charging them more, actually have contracts, so all these kind of things he brought to the table.
The small things.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which brought us here,
So you decided, when did you decide that, okay, this is working, we're gonna create something that is bigger? And again, as Shai said, think bigger. Now we need a contract, we need a process, we need everything. And you have that aha moment of we're building something.
Yeah, this is a fun story for us, because I think this was a bigger point for us, just that, in our lives as well. But we were building the agency kind of off of the back of, Yaya's freelance clients, because from my background, there isn't a lot of, Fortune 100, Forbes 500 companies that, I was working for, at my time at Deloitte, that are just going to sign up with a small agency for myself from that connection. It's really hard to do that, to pull that away. So there was a client that reached out to us, for basically just a website to kickstart their brand. They had a private startup that was working on this great technology for the past 15, 16 years, and they needed to commercialize that somehow. So when Yaya told me that, hey, they came to us, they want a proposal, we really dove into, okay, how do we create a proposal for this team that's going to really knock it out of the park and just show them that, hey, it's not about just building a website for a brand. You have this great technology that you've built for 15 years.
Well, hold on, you're skipping one part of the story. So
that's right.
So I used to work at a gym, and the guy that's in charge of this brand / startup inside this bigger corporation used to also go to that same gym. So the one night, Friday night, he messages me on Instagram and just says, hey, we're starting a new brand on my company. I would love for you to do the logo. That's all he said. So I was like, yeah, sure. I get people like that hit me up, and especially when I was a freelancer, once or twice a month. And it's most of the time just like a random $500 kind of small gig on the side. You know what I mean? So in my mind, that's what it is. So I'm like, yeah, sure, I can come in Monday morning. So he's like, yeah, come in Monday morning, 10:30, here's the address. So I drive over there, and it's this huge facility. I walk in, they put me in this room. I got to take a security privacy test, watch this little video, go inside. He gives me a tour with a freaking hard hat and goggles on. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, where am I here? So he's talking me through the whole thing. It's a biotech firm. They're basically have technology to take carbon out of the air and turn it into products. So eventually we finished the tour. We're sitting in a room. It's me and that guy plus the marketing director of that startup. And I'm talking to the marketing director at this point, and we're kind of figuring out, okay, what are your next steps and what's payment? So what they wanted was logo and branding, a sales flyer, and a simple landing page. So at this point, I want to do it. I think it's a great step for us in the right direction. I also have Shai in the back of my mind telling me, think bigger. We need to, get the contracts up and the proposals up a little bit. So they look at me and they go, can you do all of that for 2,000? And I'm like, you know, in my head, I'm like, it's not bad. Like that's probably a okay offer. But to the outside, I go, well, you know, I don't really know. Like I got to talk to my partner. We can put the proposal together. We'll let you know, kind of, you know, give them the runaround a little bit. So all of a sudden, the other guy just looks at me. He goes, you know what? We don't have time for negotiations and going back and forth. I'm approved for $20,000. Can you do it for 20? And
that went up from 2,000.
Yeah, they went from 2 to 20 with me just saying, I don't know. Let me talk to my partner. That's
He's not very good at negotiating, that guy.
Yeah. So, you know, this is by far the biggest offer that we've ever received up until that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm sitting in that chair just trying to play it cool, trying to do the thing. Well, I mean, you know, I think that sounds good, but let me talk to my partner still. I get out of there, call Shy right away. I'm like, they're giving us $20,000. So
by the way, doing the opposite is also interesting because he said 2,000 and you're like, I need to talk to my partner. He told you I'll give you 10x on that, and you're still, instead of saying now you're talking, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, but I guess, you know, to answer your original question on near, you know, when did we make that decision to get to that? I mean, that's a long-winded story, but essentially we turned that 20K contract with that team, with that company, to around over 250K over the course of 6 to 7 months. And that is the, you know, yes, it's not necessarily a lot of big thinking that goes on with that, but if you can show a client user experience, brand identity, trust, loyalty, building a community, there's a lot that goes into really building a brand. And if, you know, companies have the budget for it, you know, we were on board with it. And that was really the big decision maker for us for when we went, okay, wow, we actually turn this into a massive contract. We can do this. We can do this at a higher level, and we can punch above our weight more than we think.
So why go into the no code as a main? Basically, if you guys came from the design, what was the thinking behind that?
That the main thing really was that, so long story short, but after this, that story eventually doesn't end so well. So it eventually actually ends with COVID hitting, us being in the middle of this huge project, we actually delivering, but just other forces unfortunately taking over, and we ending up losing that client. So at that point, a lot of this year was kind of banked around that client sticking around for the rest of the year. You know, financial planning, Shy quitting his job, coming on full time, different things that we did where we were kind of banking on the fact that they were going to stick around for a little bit longer. Then COVID plus this situation kind of took away from that. So then, you know, we really took a step back. We talked to different mentors, you know, Stephanie Lind over at Elohai, and we just realized, you know, what are we actually good at? Because what Shai was just saying, the fact that, you know, large companies aren't going to work with us just because of the way we look. We're too young. We don't have the, you know, Shai's dad always calls it the lack of gray hair. People aren't going to buy it from us if we walk into your company and I tell you we're going to solve all your business problems. Now, what people are going to believe is, you know, we're cool, we're hip. Also, people that say they're cool and hip about themselves usually aren't cool and hip. But telling a story here,
it's not like me.
Stick with it. So, you know, we're young. You know, we're in the trenches. We realize we're with the trends. We know kind of what's going on, and we can move very, very fast because we're agile. We're a small team. We don't have a totem pole that we have to run all of our projects up and those kind of things. So that's when we stumbled into no code, because it really just supports that theory. It supports that we can move quicker and faster and are more affordable than our competitors. You know, it's funny because to that client, once we were in negotiations, I actually said this to them in a meeting, but they were asking us for then the next project. We were putting the deliverables together and they gave us an offer and the timeline. And I looked at them and I go, so what you're telling me is you want it faster, you want more, and you want it cheaper. Like that doesn't, those three don't go together, right? It's like you got to pick one or the other. But we took a step back and it's like, well, to be honest with you, that's what everybody wants. Everyone wants more, faster, and cheaper, right? So why don't we just build our company around that? And that's when no code came in, because no code really does allow you to do exactly that.
Yeah, and I think that 6 week, you know, the whole 6 week mentality, you know, that we put together with, you know,
Wait, could you explain about it just a little bit? Because we kind of jumped. Could you explain the 6-week, the concept?
Yeah, sure. The concept that we put together with obviously what Yaya was talking about, faster, cheaper, better with no code, what allows you to do is we can essentially take an idea. You come to us in our, our first talk, our first meeting with us. Hey, Shai, Yaya, I have a great idea for this, health and wellness brand that I want to launch, as soon as possible. And then we ask, hey, what's the idea, et cetera, et cetera. We take that idea from concept to launch in 6 weeks. So that means that after the 6-week process, you have a digital platform to run the primary and secondary function and functionality that you want your idea and brand to have. You have a brand identity and a brand voice and a logo, a color theory, a user experience that matches what you're trying to do, not only in the current state of your idea, but what you're thinking for in the future as well. And you have a platform to now grow on. After 6 weeks, you have the ability to say, okay, now I have something where I can go and get users and I can get user feedback and I can go look at analytics after a couple of months and I can now start iterating on the idea. Whereas in the past, if you maybe go to a traditional marketing agency or you go to, a freelancer, and we can jump into a little bit more, it's going to take you a lot longer. It's going to take you a lot more money to build that idea much quicker. So that whole 6-week process, we integrated no code, we integrated Agile and Scrum and all these things to make sure that we can launch those ideas much quicker for those clients.
I'll tell you, every time you speak and you talk about the 6 weeks, I get excited about it. And then the only problem in running an agency, and I own an agency, as you know, is and there's only one problem, and that's the client. So the problem is the client will always want faster, cheaper, but then response time could be a week. And then you say we're going to do it in 6 weeks. The problem is now they need to also deliver on their end.
Yes.
Check, I don't know, go over the content, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys find a way to onboard or to get the client excited or to be responsive enough to not mess up the timeline you guys build?
There's two things. One, when you say pricing, the first, they want it cheaper. Our pricing's on our site. So we're not a typical agency where we ask for the proposal and we go build this, pricing that you might not expect. You can actually build your project on our website and say, hey, this is what I want, and we'll have the proposal ready for you. So from a pricing standpoint, it's pretty transparent what we offer, and we don't necessarily deviate from that too much unless there are specific add-ons that they want to a project. For example, we're doing a project in Webflow and they have a lot of different CMS type collections. Okay, obviously for us to set up all those different types of CMS collections in the site, it's going to take us some time, so it might add a little bit. The second part of that is expectations. The minute we put a proposal together, we don't send it over for review. We review it with the client on the call to make sure that they're aware, hey, this is when we need your approval by, this is when we need your approval by, this is when we need your approval by, what meeting, what time, what it's going to be, what content they need. So everything is laid out in those 6 weeks. And if we do extend, 1 to 2 weeks, there's no catches in our proposal. If we extend a week because you've missed a couple of your dates, hey, project's going to go up by a fixed amount. We can't wait for you to make decisions. And we think the reason we put that in there was it's more of a culture change to help show that entrepreneur, that founder, that creative, that you need to move fast too. It's not just relying on an agency to solve all your problems. You need to learn that at the end of the day, we're going to be gone.
Are they okay? Are they okay with that additional? Have you ever charged that additional week?
No, I think we haven't charged that additional week yet, just because I think we do a great job of aligning on expectations to start. I mean, obviously, we have some wiggle room, right? If we're going from one meeting to another, if there's one or two revisions that we allow for in a couple of the deliverables, it might extend to that 7th week, but they're comfortable with that because they want a couple of changes. But beyond those, we've never had to charge a client for those additional weeks.
How do people feel when they see the pricing?
What was that?
Oh, sorry, I cut you off. I was just asking about the pricing. How do people, if they call, they reach out and they say, so the price, can we negotiate? There's a discount.
Right. So I'll get into that. I just want to say one more thing before that too. I think as far as getting the client aligned, I think it's all about asking the right questions and asking the right questions early on. Because what Shai was just saying, and I'm sure you know this from an agency too, when people come to you, clients just expect you to just solve all of their problems, even the problems that just live in their heads that they've never even uttered to anybody. They just assume that you can just get in there and you can just solve everything. So asking the right questions early on and making it clear to them that that's not the case. You still need to put in the work as well in order for this to be a quality product. Asking, what about this content? What should go here? Where's your bio? Where's this? Where's that? And making them realize like, oh, I get it now. These guys aren't just going to make up all this stuff. These guys are going to work with me, tease out all the content and the information that I want on the site, and then find an elegant way to display it. So it really, a lot of it comes down to that. And we're still learning on that too. Like our process changes from client to client every single time because we see things that, okay, maybe we should have asked this earlier. Maybe we should have said this before that, so we're still making those changes. When it comes to,
it's an interesting concept to me, working fast. I come from a country where everybody in Israel wants quicker and cheaper than you can imagine.
Right.
But then even if you do operate in that manner, sometimes there's a point where you look at the content or the brand that gets really hurt on the long run. Why? Because now it looks good, but it doesn't hold up. So in 6 months, it's like writing a lot of content and putting it in the drawer. No one's going to use it. No one's going to use the brand values. No one's going to make the attributes come to life. No one's going to make sure that the brand identity or the brand voice or tone is actually aligned with how the customer service works. So I think in a sense, the announcement last week of the passing of Tony Shea from Zappos, if you guys saw that. And I think the interesting thing is, in his book, he talks about the branding. He didn't want the branding process, and they told him it would take like 3 months. Ended up taking 3 years. That became his life mission, So and everything revolved around the brand and the core values and happiness and the whole concept. But people wanted quick, cheap. He wanted that out of the way.
Yeah, to us, the branding and even your online platforms, even your marketing, all of those kind of things, they're living and breathing. They're always evolving. So what we do, our package, our flagship package that we use is called the Launchpad. So we get you up and running quickly. We get you to a point where you can launch something. That by no way means that it's done. That by no way means that we'll do it once and you're going to run with this for the next 10 years and nothing's ever going to change. The reason why we go fast and the reason why we're more affordable is because we believe in the power of iteration. We believe in that you launch something, you fail, or you get some feedback, and then you go make those changes internally. And you're going to be able to do that because our process only took you 6 weeks instead of 6 months, and you only spend 15 grand instead of 150 grand. Right? If you spend 150 grand on a brand, you're not going to want to change it. If you just spend 15 in 6 weeks, it's a lot easier to go, all right, yeah, we can tweak it a little bit now.
Yeah, building a brand, it's like training for a marathon, but there's never going to be a marathon. You can't stop training after 2 weeks because then your body starts to revert backwards, right? If you want to train for a marathon, you want to get better for a spot where you can run 26, 27 miles, you have to keep training. But with a brand, there's never going to be the actual marathon to run, but you have to keep training to get better. And I think that's just something that's in the core of ourselves too. We really believe, throw away business for a little bit, throw away ideas, startups, whatever the case may be. If I want to be a better husband in the future, if I want to be a better best friend to him, if I want to be a better, brother at the end of the day, if I want to be a better son, I have to look in the mirror and I have to get better every day. I have to make sure that the weaknesses that I have, I'm taking care of those things. I'm not allowing them to hinder all the relationships that I have. There are things that I can work on to be a better person at the end of the day. That's what I'm going to do. And if that needs to translate, and that should translate into a lot of parts of, the business for us. And I think that's why we resonated with this process too, because it's a reflection of ourselves and how we think of ourselves and how we grow.
And I think the only way I think the only way you can truly do that is by being self-aware and by being open to feedback. And that's if you're talking about you personally, or that's if you're talking about your brand or your company. It kind of goes back to where I started the conversation of strong opinions loosely held. That's what it is. When this is my brand, I'm going to support it and I'm going to stand behind it with everything that I have. But if I see something wrong with it, I'm going to be flexible enough to go change it. The longer you cling on to a mistake, the harder it gets to change it. So
I agree. And by the way, I think there's a couple of amazing ear nuggets along the way of what you guys just said. And I think one of them is moving quickly. I totally agree. I do believe that we're getting to a point where even websites are not the same way as I park my brand and I park my content and we'll be back in 3 years, And I think it's becoming more like, you go on Rodeo Drive and you see the shops, you come back in 3 months, the seasons have changed, right? The clothing, the brands, whatever. And I think we started to change just the images, and we're now looking into changing the whole website of the company. And I'm trying to find a way of building it, I believe, more in the way of what you guys are talking about and saying, okay, this is what we want to build now. And how will that iterate in 3 months? And putting that into the scope of work. And I remember last time we spoke, you guys told me you're also always changing your website.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to steal the line because this is definitely a line that he's coined, but we treat our agency, our creative studio, like a software product. And that's essentially what it is. We're constantly changing not only the process that we use within our 6 weeks. You're always going to see changes to our website. You're always going to see changes to our branding. You're always going to see changes to you might see an article on our Medium from or our blog, maybe from this past year, and a year from now we're going to have an article that's completely different from the stance of that original article. And that's just because things move and things change. So I really like that whole phrase of how we're treating it like a software product, so that we take that feedback and we're constantly changing it so that people can see, hey, we're not just saying it so you can do it, and we're not just saying it so you sign on with us and we do it for you. We do it every 6 weeks as well. We do it actually every 3 weeks sometimes.
And we were talking about this last time with you too, Nir, and I wanted to kind of come back to that. So the whole, build in public movement that's big on Twitter right now, it's huge in the no code world. That's basically just you launch something before it's ready to go, so that you can get feedback from other people, and you basically have other people looking over your shoulder the entire time, making you, like, forcing you to progress, forcing you to make changes, forcing you to, not just put that idea into the drawer and let it die, because now you've just shouted from the rooftops that you're starting a company, so now you gotta live up to it.
And he's used to someone looking over his shoulder all the time.
Yeah, so that's true. So you and I, or us three, were talking about this idea last time we were on the call, and we talked about it, and I think we're going to go ahead and do it. So basically what we talked about, just to get the listeners into this too now, we're already changing our website every 6 weeks. Kind of practice what you preach. We think that you should constantly be iterating, constantly making changes. So we want to get other people involved in this process now as well. So basically, we're going to open this up to the public. We're going to have open voting on our website on different features. So should this button be this color or this color? Should we use this image? Should this section go there? Moving stuff around, fonts, colors, images, animations, graphics, anything you can imagine. We're basically going to just open it up to people to vote on, and then we're going to make exactly those changes. So it's going to be, exactly practicing what we preach. It's one, moving fast, two, iterating over and over and over again. And then third, just listening to other people and taking feedback, because at the end of the day, your users know you better than anybody else. So if anyone's listening to this or watching this and you guys are interested in doing that, it's going to be completely free. There's no obligations or anything like that. You can sign up on our website, get a notification basically every time a new round of voting opens, get your opinion heard, and then we're going to make those changes as you guys voted.
Interesting. When I hear you guys, it makes me wonder. I'm not certain the word agency is relevant. And I'm sorry for stating that, and maybe I'm completely mistaken. An agency for me, at the end of the day, I love telling stories, that.
Right.
And when you use a story, you pick words. The word agency inherently builds something in my brain, that says a certain type, a certain way, and you do my campaigns, you do this, you do that. But basically, I feel more like, remember the game Civilization or Age of Empires? You guys are like the builders, and you'll come and you'll build this and then build upon that and build up. I always need you, and I can always trust in you and come back, and you make sure you're like the brand guardians, in a sense.
Yeah, we've struggled with that actually. I mean, if you go on a website, the first thing you're going to see is we're the anti-agency. So that's kind of where we branded ourselves. But
our name is Shadow Creative Studio. So
right. So we've definitely been struggling with that piece because I 100% agree with you. We have very, very little in common with the traditional agency. Honestly, the only reason why we still have it is just because that's what people are going to search for at the end of the day, right? If someone wants a no-code agency, that's what they're going to type into Google. So we're still going to be somehow have to be accessible at the same time too, and then kind of slowly but surely, transition and mold people's minds into, there's a new kid on the block, basically.
But you said initially when you started, you were doing kind of everything, and I remember a long time ago, people would call me and say, "What I want to work with you, but what do you exactly do?" And I would say, "It's easier if you tell me what you need."
Yeah.
And they would say, "We need yeah." And by the way, it completely didn't matter unless it was like construction.
Yeah.
I'd probably say yes to anything at that point, And I remember I would go out on a date, and if the date was going well and she would order the second round of drinks, I was like, shit, I'm not sure I can pay rent. Okay, that's what, like, the beginning was so bad. And if you look at it, of saying, what happens if you guys do the launchpad and you do some other things and you do it so well and people can't find you online? They can find you, the website and everything, but they're not looking for an agency. It's a word of mouth. It's finding the right people. And the reason why I'm asking is because during 2020, we raised our prices. We started to tell people, I'm sorry, I don't think we're the right fit. Where before that, I personally would struggle with that. And we're called Streetwise, a creative sales agency, because I love selling anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's not about what we do behind that. First of all, we sell. Afterwards, we'll figure it out. And I think so. It always was kind of, and we have a T-shirt line. So it's kind of like we'll do. I'll send you guys T-shirts.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I think that what happens if you skip it? You don't say we're the anti-agency, but rather we're the ones who are disrupting the way that things are being done.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly right. It's spot on. That's exactly what we're trying to do. And I mean, it's if you get into some of our pitch decks and those kind of things, that's exactly what we're saying. That this is a new way of doing things. It's from entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs instead of just a bunch of guys sitting around in suits and trying to figure out how to launch the new sexy tech startup. You know what I mean? Like, what do those guys know that we don't know at the end of the day? And culture-wise, I think that we're a better fit as well. So I think you're absolutely right. And once we kind of get talking about it, I think that comes out very quickly. So maybe we do just need to be more upfront with it.
Because I don't think you should hide, and if people don't find you. And the reason why I'm saying that, because every time I hear you guys speak, I try to find an equivalent here. And I know a lot of agencies, I know a lot of people do branding and various, we can have a whole different discussion about what we call branding and so on. But I can't find an equivalent. But the moment you say agency, I compare us, but
Right.
We're not the same at all. The services are completely different. Even I'll take that one step further. I always try and think, if my client is English based in language, can I bring you guys on board to the project so we can actually complement one another?
Mm-hmm.
But the word agency kind of derails that, and I don't think that gives you. Yeah, I think it's interesting if we rethink what we say as a word. what we use.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, words are so important, and I'm personally just not a fan of labels to begin with, because when you say you're one thing, then people are going to group you into that label no matter what comes after that. But I think even we played around with product studio, incubator group, like those types of words are very similar, but they also don't match because those labels have different meanings. Product studio, we're not essentially building products left and right? We're not doing that. Incubator, we're not necessarily just providing you a bunch of, in my opinion, bullshit information and have you run with it. We're actually more actionable than an incubator group. So
Yeah,
I really think when we, in our pitch decks, like he was mentioning, we say leading the creative revolution. Okay, it really is that, but leading the creative revolution, if it is a revolution, it's a new coined term. And what that term is, we don't really know yet, but we also know
by the way, if you look at the age factor, okay, so sadly I'm getting older. I don't know how that happened, but I am. And some of my friends who have been like VP marketing of some of the biggest companies here, okay, people I deeply appreciate, the professionals at the highest level you can imagine when it comes to marketing. But now what you call branding and the process and the way you move and being quick and agile and being able to make a different decision from the one you just made a couple of hours, they're not the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs mentally, not specifically lack of knowledge.
Correct.
And it's like being a light on your feet. It's by the time you guys understand, we finished.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And you guys are talking about not building a brand. Here's the brand book, Mazel Tov, good luck. But you guys are rather saying it's a process. It's building a habit. It's like when Yaya goes to the gym, right? And we all know when, the entrepreneurs organization here in Europe, Israel is in Europe because, so it's there's a saying, the entrepreneurs organization is a gym. It's not a spa. You have to actually show up every time and work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in that sense, you can always turn around, okay, and say that your age is definitely a bonus, and the fact that, when you look at a kid, they'll run and fall 100 times. You won't, because you know how it feels.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think in that sense, I love what you guys are doing, because every time we jump on a call, we'll do this and we'll change this, but it feels like there is a certain focus into it, which I love. And by the way, I understand technology up to a certain point. I work with a lot of startups and everything. One thing I can't stand is the word no code, because then they only say, oh yeah, you just need to code this. And that's why I get lost.
Right.
It's very easy. How can you not? No, I don't. I can do the Zapier. Above that, fuck that, I'm out.
Right.
And again, the fact that you guys can do all the connections between graphic and content and a bit of tech and this and that, and the no code movement has been, I don't know, I think in the last couple of years, but now everybody's talking about it. Everybody's like trying to understand how to do it. I think that puts you in an amazing position to build something. And I believe you guys are the future of what a no agency should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's interesting.
So interesting.
Because
when are you guys going to be $1 billion business?
Gosh.
Because you skipped on the t-shirts.
We did skip on the t-shirts. I know. I gotta make another call to Kanye here and see if he's into a no-code agency. Maybe that's his next thing.
He's busy with his presidential campaign for 2024.
That's right.
Hey, maybe we'll be the no-code studio that builds his website for his campaigns. So maybe.
By the way, can you see this here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple of years ago, Obama came to Israel. I was in the middle of a campaign for my first book. My novel was out. I had no money. I was selling it to bar owners as a gift to their employees. It was about the nightlife and stuff. And people would take a picture with the book. And it got to the point where they took a picture in the coffee shop, in Italy, underwater, with this and that, and it went crazy. It got to the newspapers. And then Obama came here for a presidential visit, and they said, let's see if you can get him to take a picture. And we said, challenge accepted, no problem. We'll get him. And we made this with a Photoshop. We made this picture, and it's his actual signature. They got him after a certain meeting, told him the story. He started to laugh when he saw the picture, and he signed it. So if you guys want to build Kanye's new website, presidential or otherwise, I'll challenge you, and I have a feeling you guys can do anything you set your mind to.
Yeah,
I have to say, it's always a pleasure to talk to you guys.
Yeah, Nir, always a pleasure.
Pleasure's
Always a
all
blast
ours.
chatting with you, and I appreciate the kind words as always too. You always uplift our spirits for sure.
And teach us so much.
So first of all, thank you. I have to say, the feeling is mutual. Now I can't tell you how quickly I want to build a new website after talking to you guys. So thank you so much for everything, and I think it's interesting, and the fact that from the other side of the world, especially now when people can't fly, and we're located in Tel Aviv, you guys are in Orange County, and I think it's amazing the ability that it's all the people, and we're all the same, and the fact that you guys were willing to jump on this call. So I really appreciate it, and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you. I mean, this was awesome, and I really do feel like I know you already from all of these different Zoom calls, but I honestly can't wait to really do have a beer in person. That's gonna be a fantastic day.
I have a feeling we might become a triplet bromance, build the biggest agency on the planet, and sell it to Kanye for $1 billion, and I hope that happens. So guys, thank you so much. And if you guys had a good 1 hour with us and you enjoyed this episode of Zavaones, feel free to subscribe, write to us, anything you need. And please, if you are somewhere on the planet and you need a quick website, talk to these guys. I know I am. And we'll see you on the next episode. I'll see you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.